Holy multiple Mark Hamill's Batman! Tiki here, and I have been watching through each and every episode of Batman Beyond for the first time. Dragon, tell them why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago, I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way, but that was the past, and we must now enter the Batman's future.
Tonight, we are in between seasons 2 and 3, so we thought we'd take the time to cover the feature-length film, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. Alrighty, so Dragon, as you know, I have seen this approximately one time, and it was like my entry level into Batman Beyond. Not really, it's a great movie, but it's not really a great thing to start with. You kind of need to know some of the context. But rewatching this thing, man, it really blew my mind how much of it I had retained just from that one watch. Like, there are definitely, like, big chunks of this movie that just really stick with you. Not only that, Dragon, but the big thing about this that I really want to highlight before we get into it is, going into this movie, I was expecting it to be a little bit of an animation upgrade. I wasn't expecting it to be like a blow up like this, man. I mean, I fully wish that I would have seen this on the big screen because it's totally it totally feels like it's fit for the theaters, just with how big the scope is, even just in the opening sequence. Not to mention all the flashback stuff. I mean, this is a straight up, people use the term like, oh, it's a Batman adventure. And I always think like that's kind of a weird terminology to use with Batman since he's always just in the city. But no, Dre, this is an adventure, man. Like, this movie takes you places. I really enjoyed it a lot. I do have a couple nitpicks here and there. I will say I don't think it's better than Mask of the Phantasm, but Dragon, it's damn near on that level. It really is. So, all right, we got Kogias, man. We're probably not gonna. I don't want to slow down the pacing of this, so I'm going to probably be skipping over a lot of the Bruce and Terry stuff that you're sending out, unless you see any that you particularly want to do, Dragon. But welcome, Kogias. He says, what happened to Max? Yeah, I was kind of wondering that. That's one of my nitpicks. I'm sure I'm interested to see if there's any kind of backstory for that one. We also have Lucas Green in the comments. He said, what would you guys say if this film takes place in the series?
I know the answer to that.
When would you guys? Okay. Would you like to say it, or do you want to get? Is that?
I mean, I don't want to keep them waiting. Should I just tell them now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So literally, it's interesting because, given that this is produced at the same time season 2 is, that's why we're covering at the end of 2. Technically, it's right after the first episode of season 3 chronologically. So basically,
okay.
Season 3, episode 1 happens, and then this movie.
Oh, really? Oh. I kind of feel like I should have watched season 3, episode 1.
Well, no, because then, it defeats the purpose of what we're doing. So,
Fair enough.
Trust me, you're not missing. All you need to know is, again, the big plot point of this movie is, he gets his company back, and after episode 1 of season 3, that's how he gets his company back. That's all you need to know.
Okay, oh god, we have Richard's Victims. I actually, for some reason, I don't know if Dragon knew this. I didn't know that you were Teddy. I probably should have assumed, but yeah, I don't know. That is weird. But welcome, nonetheless. Happy to have you. Let's see. Kogia says, I think that the writing in Return of the Joker is better than the writing of Mask of Phantasm. That's a hot take. Them strong words. Not granted, it is far from the hottest take you have, Kogias. But I know. I honestly, okay. Here's my thing right up top before we get into it. I feel like this movie maybe has one too many flashbacks. I feel like we probably could have done the stuff in the third act with, revealing what's going down with the Joker and how he's taking over Tim Drake's body. Spoiler alert. I feel like we could have done that without a flashback. I feel like that could have been a little bit.
What are you talking about? There's no flashback. There's only one flashback in this movie.
Do we not see animation of him putting the chip in?
No, he just points to it on his neck.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Okay, I don't know. I guess I'm...
How dare you flashback explain me?
Oh my god. Let's see. Warp Monarch says this is one of Paul Dini's darkest movies.
That is true,
for sure.
Not as dark as work, because that's a Dark Knight, a true Batman story.
All right. Kogias also says Return to the Joker. I'm not going to read that comment because it's going to upset Dragon too much. The mediocre romance subplot. Dragon, he thinks the subplot of Mask of the Phantasm is... Oh, you're not even going to entertain it. All right, moving on. Mediocre. All right. So Dragon, yeah, let's get into the background on this. I'm sure it's probably pretty substantial.
Indeed there is. Indeed it is. Okay, so this was directed by Kurt Gaeta. Of course, some of the highlights of his directing in the DCAU. Did Rebirth, the pilot for Batman Beyond, very important. Meltdown, the big Mr. Freeze episode. Babel, big, again, kind of Batman being valued by the city kind of story there, or at least, I guess, be undervalued by the city. And for our purposes here, a really big, important thing that kind of somewhat relates to this movie, Old Wounds. That was kind of like the big feather in Kurt Gaeta's
yeah, that totally relates to this, yeah.
So, yeah, kind of the story of a Robin, so, writer on this. Okay, so the writer on this, so our primary writer, the guy who did the screenplay, basically our main writer, and I'll get into the writing process. So basically, Paul Dini, obviously, as we've kind of touted up, he was the writer on this. Did a Rebirth Part 1 for. He didn't write a lot of Batman Beyond, but he was, again, he's in the story room with the guys though, so he's kind of like he's around during like the whole series, but he only truly like wrote Rebirth Part 1. Of course, throughout the animated series, he was the go-to Joker writer, so obviously we have to get Dini in on this, like full on. And Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh yeah.
So kind of like Mask of the Phantasm, Phantasm had a number of a number of writers on it. So with that in mind, you have Bruce Timm and Glenn Murakami kind of like also doing some additional writing on this film with Dini. And the way that writing process worked was they hunkered down in this little conference room, and basically for a couple days, almost like a story summit, they basically they kicked around ideas in a room. It's real. I love the writing brothers. There's like talking over Batman stuff in a room, and basically Bruce Timm has like a yellow legal pad. And he's just sketching things out. It's delightful. Like one of them's an artist.
That feels like the DC equivalent of a Norman Rockwell painting.
Or just it's like the Mickey Rooney thing. Like, my uncle's got a show. Uncle's got a show. Okay, now Tiki, the studio worked on this. Was TMS.
Oh my god. God. You've been planning that. How long have you been planning to do that?
Well, since the beginning.
Oh man.
Tiki, the only time, the whole series. The only time that it was not truly, Coco and Dong. Now, fun fact though, so of course TMS they were like the secret weapon. Of course, they did a number of great work on a number of animated shows, but as far as Batman goes, they were very much like the secret weapon along with Spectrum. So they were literally the best studios that the animated series worked with. Spectrum and TMS. TMS most famously did Clayface Part 2.
Sure, sure.
Sorry, well, not the Feet of Clay Part 2, but yes, the big famous sequence in that where Clayface does all the shape shifting. That was TMS. Did Two-Face Part 1. Did Demon Quest, which is one of my favorite two-parters in the entirety of the DCAU. Over the Edge, some big significance here, and World's Finest. So that was like the last big event movie that TMS did in relation to Batman. Before this, it was World's Finest, big Batman Superman crossover. So that's one of the main reasons TMS was the go-to. Now, so what happened? So I guess getting into the whole production of this thing. So it bridges off the animation studio. So after season 1, Batman Beyond, impressed everyone with season 1. They got a full series pickup. So technically, season 2 is so long it got split into 2 seasons. So technically, that's how that worked.
Oh man,
it gets broken up the way we covered it. It's like in the DVD sets and everything. So technically,
right, yeah.
Basically, they got 52 episodes after the initial 13, which brings them to the syndication number. Essentially gives them a syndication number. So basically, after that point, like, okay, this is viable, this is successful. The home video people for Warner Brothers said, hey, why don't you guys do a direct-to-video? Which, again, is like, well, that's great. Problem, we're kind of working on a whole series here. That's going to be kind of difficult to put out a quality product.
Right.
Now, mind you, the history with Warner Brothers animation marketing, marketing in the animation department, I should say, is many times they'll just kind of throw them like opportunities at very ill-timed moments. Like, hey, you're going to do a direct-to-video for Mask of the Phantasm. Okay, that's great. About 5 months or so out. Like, hey, can you make it? Maybe not 5 months. It was a little longer than. Hey, can you actually make it theatrical? We're going to give you extra money. Can you make it theatrical? Oh God! Oh God! And it's like, yeah, don't worry, we'll promote it though. Which no, they didn't promote it at all. Not at all in the least. Which again is why infamously
Although I do remember the trailer, Dragon. I remember the trailer pretty vividly. The trailer sold me on this movie.
Yep. You mean for this movie?
Yes.
Well, no, I'm saying this. They learned from them, but the difference being, Tiki, this is a direct-to-video. This is not the theatrical thing. That's, of course, the reason.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, this I remember being marketed pretty prominently.
Because of the mismarketing of Phantasm, that's why this movie didn't come out in the theaters. That was like a long-standing, that's why none of the other Batman animated movies.
That's just a shame.
Honestly, it hurt the whole industry. That's why none of the great direct-to-video stuff ever got a theatrical release until they had Fathom events, which is like years down the line. So. Anyway, that's really
totally go. You know what I was thinking about this movie, Dragon? The 25th anniversary is coming up. I would totally go to a Fathom.
They'll probably do that, Tiki, because
I would totally do it.
They did it for Phantasm's 30th. I went to
that.
Actually, I went for Phantasm's 25th. I think, and I imagine they would have done it for the 30th as well. Anyway, so point being, so you're probably wondering how the heck are they going to pull this off? They have the series going, and they have this, but the solution was TMS. The fact that they had Coco doing all the animation for the series. Well, we can't use Coco, obviously, because we can't make him our whipping boy. We can't do that.
Right.
So, TMS was the godsend. TMS was like, hey, we could do it. Like, really? So they did it. Now, admittedly, though, Bruce Timm has theorized, never been fully confirmed, but he theorized the rave scenes were outsourced potentially to Coco and Dong Yang on the side of like, hey, can you help us out here? We're doing a lot of legwork on this. Can you just take these two rave sequences for us? And so it's not confirmed, but it is believed that Bruce Timm has always theorized that's what happened there.
I
mean, he's seen that whole series. He's been in production that whole series. I think he would know, but it's a guess. Anyway, so so getting into this, the story-wise, like, what the heck are we going to do for our big direct-to-video? We need an event. What's our big event? So, of course, the ace up their sleeve has always been, what's the main bylaw of the show? We're not just going to do a Beyond version of all the bad guys, but there's one exception you obviously have to make if you're going to do that story. It would be the Joker. If you're going to have one major villain return, like major, I know technically 4 came back, but let's not get bogged down in that right now. If you're going to have one major return, like a legit, like he's back and he shouldn't be back, kind of thing. Not a logical. Well, he's an Iceman, or he might be an immortal, or he's Bane. Not counting those. The Joker is always in their back pocket, and there's always the question of how did the Bat family dissolve? What was the big fracture in the Bat family? Like Bruce Timm's neighbor kid reportedly just kept bugging him, like, hey, what happened to Robin? Like, true story. His little neighbor kid would keep bugging Bruce Timm, asking what happened to Robin.
I could totally see.
So it kind of spawned the idea, like, okay, let's there's a lot of stuff here. It's very linked to these types of stories that are in the Batman comics. Like, clearly bad stuff happens with Robin around the Joker. I think we can maybe do something with this. And it's basically designed to kind of answer some fan questions and kind of do a really good story here. And of course, the imperative being, okay, we can't just make this the Bruce Wayne movie again. It's got to be Terry's story, but obviously Bruce Wayne, the Joker's history factors into it.
So,
Let's see. Sorry, I can went through the TMS stuff here. Okay, so the band was getting back together on this. Like, they brought back some talent from all over because, again, it was such kind of an interesting production. They had the back half of season 2 of Batman Beyond. They had to pluck Kurt Gaeta off of it so he could direct. He was their best director, which is why we have such an eclectic, group of directors and writers on season 2 of Batman Beyond, which worked out really well. And in doing so, they pulled back some great talent, like Ted Blackman, who was way back during Batman the Animated Series. He's one of the guys who championed the whole black backgrounds idea. Like, he was the background guy. He designed like all the layers and stuff. He designed the background. So he came up with the whole Jolly Jack Candy Factory. That was Ted Blackman.
Right.
So big thing with this, you're probably wondering, why does this movie look so good? Well, that's the thing. They didn't get necessarily a whole lot of money on this. They got more than the budget of the show, but again, it's a direct-to-video. It's not it's not a feature like Phantasm. They weren't given like $5 million on this. However, this is the first time, and we've seen it now integrated in the show, but while they're doing this at the same time production-wise, this is the first time they use digital backgrounds. This is when they do it like it goes from cell to like drawing on the onto the computer directly, like the drawing tablets and stuff. Anyway, so the problem was the movie was long. They were very short on time production wise. Think Toy Story 2 with this, man. Toy Story 2, in which it was very like up to the last second to the deadline. I mean that in the most literal sense. When they were working on this movie, you'll probably notice there's no opening. There's no fancy opening titles.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Thank you. That's because literally down to the wire, they did not have time.
Right.
They did not have time, and they had to cut 14 minutes out of the movie, which had some good scenes in it too, which are like they can see like animatics form there. Everything like Bruce Wayne visited the abandoned Arkham.
I did notice that even for a DC animated movie, it's pretty short. It's on the short side.
That's the thing. I mean, there's a lot jam packed in here, and they had to lose a lot of the Price stuff. Like, Price was set up a little bit more in the movie, but they had to cut out some of the scenes. Let's see. The poster for this film is a nod to The Man Who Laughs, which was the inspiration behind the Joker character. The old Conrad Veidt movies. That's why.
Sure.
That's why Joker's face is randomly green in the poster, because Conrad Veidt's face was green in that poster. It's a deep cut. Let's see. So, okay, last thing. This is the most important thing. I saved for last. Okay, so now take it for the first time. You've seen the unrated, unedited version of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Is that correct, sir?
I like, you would know better than I would. The one time I did see it, I rented it from a video store, so I don't know if that copy would have been the unrated one or not. Well, I don't think so.
I'm getting it. Well, either way, I'm getting a sense you probably were fuzzy on how the Joker died. Either way, so that's the big tell.
Okay.
Anyway,
I don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
We'll get there when we get there, I guess. Just to see. The point being, though, yes. So there are two versions of this film. There's the censored version. There's the cut version and the uncut version. Now, the reason for this was that when this movie was slated to come out in October of 2000. Major problem. Columbine happened.
Oh man!
So the parents.
Oh god, that's with this movie in particular, I can see how that would be a problem.
So the parents groups and everything were a little. Everyone was a little concerned. So essentially, they delayed the project, gave it a few months from October to December, and in that time, they made re-edits to the film. They had to reanimate a whole new death for the Joker. And so they just to make the home video people happy, and they had to cut out they had to alter some lines. So it's not even like it's like they lost stuff. It's that they had to like alter things. It's like just a few lines and like a few random cuts. It's not, the end product again is not bad. It's not like Donner cut a Superman 2 versus the Richard Lester cut or anything, but it is noticeable. So so that's the big thing with this film, and also we have I'll get to the music thing later, but there we go.
Okay, so Dragon, where do you want to start? This is we should probably point out, folks, this is the first time that we've done any sort of Batman the Animated Series related stuff in just retrospective form, where it's kind of more of a free form conversation instead of doing it beat by beat. It's kind of new territory for us. So Dre, it's the first thing to start with is let's just talk about how impressive that opening action scene is and how it sets the stage for how much bigger in scope this movie is going to be, because I was really impressed with it.
The moment when he like exits through like the
Yep,
escape hatch
that moment.
Okay, so the big inspiration behind this scene was they wanted a big whammo blammo action opening. The big reference for Paul Dini and Bruce Timm love on Her Majesty's Secret Service. That was their go-to James Bond film. They wanted a James Bond opening, so they very much were going for that kind of opening here.
Sure.
So we have our new the newest iteration of the Jokerz gang, and honestly, I would say the best iteration of it. I think these guys have had the most stay power. A number of great talents behind. We have like Henry Rollins, Zahir from Legend of Korra playing Bonk, who has a short-lived turn in this movie, but he is there.
Short-lived but memorable, my friend.
Okay, here's one I've been hyping up. Ghoul, voiced by Michael Rosenbaum, who was doing his Christopher Walken impression.
Yes, totally.
And basically, it was a happy accident, because here's the thing. They loved Michael Rosenbaum so much every time he would come in, which is why he ultimately played The Flash. He was just kind of joking around the booth, doing his impressions. Like, oh, man, we got to use that someday. And they, lo and behold, like, hey, we're going to bring him back for yet another Batman Beyond thing. Hey, what, Michael, do your Walken for this. Wait, really? Yeah, I mean, he was in Batman Returns. Do it. Go for it. I got Frank Welker playing Wolf. So Wolf, our spliced Joker, he's like just half.
Of course, you would get Frank Welker for that.
Of course, Paul Dini with the old nod to Harley's pet hyenas with Wolf there. The DDs. So the DDs voiced by Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina Teenage Witch, and actually it was a very deep cut pool. They had a few deep cut pools on this, where in the development phase of Batman the Animated Series, they were going to do like an original foe called Double Debbie.
Oh my god!
So they kind of dusted it off. They kind of futurized it with the DDs.
The DDs, I will say, they're probably the most memorable thing that I can think of from the movie's ad campaign.
Yeah.
Just the I remember they would definitely insert themselves into it into the trailers quite frequently.
Oh yeah, well I mean they're a lot of fun. Plus it's Melissa Joan Hart. I mean how can you not?
Yeah. That was probably a big part of it. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of again as we literalize later. There's a bit of a Harley Quinn kind of like in the DNA for these girls.
Right.
Also, Chucko. So Chucko, it's a fun story behind Chucko. So he's voiced by Don Harvey, who was the original cab driver from Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay.
The original one. It says, "Come on, say it." Anyway, so the fun fact that his design, Eric Radomski, the co-producer and co-creator of Batman Animated Series of Bruce Timm, he basically went to a Halloween party once at Bruce Timm's house, and he wore the exact same clown costume, only he's a lot thinner than Chucko. But essentially, he called him Sicko the Clown, so they repurposed Sicko the Clown as Chucko. Yeah. Anyway, it's fun action. It's a warehouse. Again, we're checking the box there, doing a warehouse in the Batman Beyond warehouse in the movie. We got to.
Sure, of course.
Cool chase through the city, and I think the whole point of this sequence is Terry. We're seeing Terry at this juncture. He's getting out of his rookie year. He's quite seasoned. He's dispatching these guys pretty well. He's not getting his butt kicked so much. He's kind of.
I like how like as far as the timeline goes. Obviously, the end of season 2, we had some big dramatic stuff going on. And in my own headcanon, I kind of do like to think it's like, okay, like after Where's Terry and then all the stuff that went down with Ace at the end of the season, I feel like Terry's finally like really coming to his own. And this is kind of him showcasing that.
Exactly, Tiki. That's what I'm saying. We're seeing real progression here. Like this is him like kind of like more confident as Batman. And again, to the point where he's going to say what he's going to say to Bruce later in the movie about how he feels about being Batman.
Right.
All right. So again, plot wise, as I kind of like laid out earlier, so Bruce Wayne, he's reclaimed his family's company. Season 3, we'll see how exactly he managed that, but the point being, it feels right. So Bruce Wayne's regained control of his family's company. There's a big parallel to the Bat family plot line that we're going to have in our flashback here. So Bruce Wayne's seeking a connection to family here, and he's really you get a sense in the performance. this does mean something to him, getting his, because he felt really bad about everything that's happened. Because again, Terry's father got killed because he was not in control of his family's company.
Sure.
There's a lot there, and Bruce does feel, again, there's a lot. We do examine Bruce Wayne's internal failures in this film, which is really strong stuff. How he feels that he's failed, the members of the Bat family. He feels that he's kind of failed the mission. With Joker's return, so there's a lot there. And it's a small bit, but I like that it's I like that it's there. This means a great deal to him. He's not going to let Jordan Price throwing a hissy fit really dissuade him at all.
And of course, Jordan Price, I feel like he's just the ultimate red herring dragon because he's literally voiced by Mark Hamill.
Yes, and that's very intentional. And also
I'm sure it is, yeah.
And designed to look like him too, with the slick back hair and everything. And yep, that's all. But what's great about it too? Little bit of a nod to his beginnings in Batman the Animated Series, where Mark Hamill did not initially play the Joker. He played Ferris Boyle in the Heart of Ice episode.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Swarmy businessman that Bruce Wayne has contempt for. Also, just to show the connection, the growth between Bruce and Terry, the whole, they have this cutesy little gag of who sleeps anymore, and then Terry kind of throws it back in Bruce's face. But it's the fact that Bruce, he's throwing a little wisdom at Terry here. A good night's rest would probably do you well here. And just trying to hey, take it easy, kid. He's trying to give him some good life advice there.
Mm-hmm.
Versus no, McGinnis, you're going to be Batman 24/7. He's just going, what?
Right.
Get some rest. You earned it, kind of thing.
All right. So onto a big important scene, Dragon. I think that after watching this movie again, I really am pretty convinced that the reason why I associate raves with this show as much as I do in my head is specifically because of this movie. I mean, that's got to be it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this one is the we've had the raves in the background, but this was always the ultimate rave. Yep. So a few things of the rave. This is probably the best they ever got the rave because one we're actually spending there is a
the
big
colors are so cool, man. I mean, it's one of the other things with the animation that just really seems like they're kicking it up.
Also, one of the great things in this movie, we have an actual song playing at the rave.
Uh-huh.
Crash by it's Mephisto Odyssey is the group that did this.
You can buy the soundtrack to Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. Oh yeah, 90s.
It is pretty good. It's a catchy
2000s.
Tune. It is a catchy tune, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Anyway. So but also a lot. It's a few things here. Terry falling asleep with Dan. It's a really funny joke. Just Terry's hey, who sleeps anymore? Cut to, oh man, he's barely staying awake.
Oh, also, we should probably bring up. Is there a reason why Max isn't in this movie? Did they just not feel like they had room for her?
Well, it's twofold, Tiki. One, I mean, literally did not have time or room. That's the main reason.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, we
didn't have room for
I kind of feel
credits,
I kind of feel like you could do a movie with her as in a central role, but I feel like in order to have her really matter, she would have to be in a central role, if that makes sense.
I think it was for two reasons. One, I think literally because, again, they were cutting that 14 minutes. They just did not have the time or the room for. I think it's the main reason. But I think secondly, it's I think they've been realizing, we've been really giving Dana the shaft. Let's showcase her a little.
I mean, that's true, and I will say that the rave scene does kind of win some favor back for me with Dana.
Also, how beautifully animated is she in that rave scene?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, everything about the animation in that scene is great. Yeah,
and again, I think it's Coco with a little bit more of a budget there. I'm pretty sure that Coco did this rave scene as well, and they delivered. Yeah, so but again, he's a mess, but she still loves the guy. That's that's what we kind of get conveyed in the scene. I feel so bad for poor Dana. She gets we hit her with a light, Gould does that creepy lick thing when he takes her hostage, and then she gets thrown onto a big old spotlight or club light. Oh man, poor girl. She's in the hospital for the whole rest of the movie.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Also, one thing to bring up is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Terry is in Batman mode only in the first and last fight, right?
Well, I mean, he does the car chase, but again, that's kind of on the road to the last fight, so I don't.
Well, when I say last fight, I more mean like last act.
Well, yes and no. Yes, but there's also like he saves Price on the yacht, so there's kind of a third time. But I think your point of like he's selectively in the Batsuits, not. I don't. I'm sorry, Tig. It's just the fact that he's also he meets Tim Drake, so he's in the suit. So I don't know.
Oh no, yeah, the Tim Drake thing, yeah.
I mean, it's not often, but the point being though is like
I do like that they make an effort to really get, because for me, I kind of thought with the whole thing where right in the middle we kind of have a Spider-Man knows no more story going on.
Yeah.
So I was kind of hoping that it was like we just see him in the first act and then not till the third act. But yeah, you're right. He's around with the Tim Drake thing.
But I mean, he did hang that up until Bruce got hurt, so like he would have access to the cave, so it makes sense. So they gotta do stuff now. Okay, I guess we should talk about Joker's his introduction. Both introductions, I guess, for him. So Ryan Del Carmen boarded this flawless scene. I love the build up and everything. He was in shadow and silhouette. How do you feel about the Joker design?
Oh, I love it. I what I really like about it, I feel like it takes all the best elements of the original redesign, which aren't that many, and then kind of like modernizes it and also brings back some of the facial details, like the wrinkles and stuff from the original. I think it's I don't know, man. Dare I say it might be the best Joker design in the DC animated universe for me. I really, what I really like about it? I really like how they animate it. I love the black tracksuit. I like how they animate it. I don't know. Just something about it really, really registers for me.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is here, they obviously, Bruce Timm, very aware they got a lot of flack on the New Batman Adventures. Of all the redesigns, the most infamous one was, the Joker's redesign. And of course, he always kicks himself because it was kind of a mistake where someone talked him out of the red lips, or he talked himself out of the red lips. And that was the big thing that was wrong. Well, one of the big things that was wrong with that design. Anyway, but yeah, so they kind of, when we do the flashback, they kind of tweaked that design as well, and they kind of found the perfect fusion of what they should have been doing the whole time, which I think they were only able to really do because of the whole direct-to-video thing, is that, okay, we found a way to give him like the pinprick eyes in darkness, which we saw here in his introduction in the Beyond version, where he's in complete darkness. We see the red eyes.
And that's literally the only reason why they went with the design that they did, right? Yeah.
And literally, I'll give you the perfect example of why they did that. Okay, the scene in the flashback where Joker emerges from the darkness, we see him in shadow, we see the eyes, and he walks through. That's why they tried doing that eye thing in the New Batman Adventures. It took them years, but they finally got it in this movie. This is exactly what they were going for. And the perfect balance was, no, give them the whites of the eyes, just in the lighting, give them the pinpricks. Don't make it 24/7. It was a horrible idea. But you're right. They fused the designs.
Yeah, it does look really good. And honestly, Dragon, here's the thing. I feel like there's a couple bits of Dark Knight in this movie. I'm not sure if it was intentional with Nolan, but I think the thing about how Joker broke a member of the Bat family, that to me, I don't think it probably wasn't intentional, but I do think that there is some element of how the Joker, broke Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. And then I also think that there's the element of Joker's introduction is very similar, where he's, just the slow reveal of him.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, granted, in The Dark Knight, he's, he doesn't have. I mean, in the Dark Knight, he quickly gets control of the room, though. He obviously has control of the room at the start of this scene, but I don't know. And also just the fact that he kills a henchman in a comedic fashion,
To be fair, it's a lot of just Joker written right, which of course Paul Dini,
No, you're for sure.
Paul Dini's put on this earth the right Batman. Let's be honest. Just in terms of like firing all cylinders, Joker being the best example of that. But yeah, you're right. This introduction, though, it conveys menace. It's a memorable introduction, but also has that bit of that comedic edge, like the whole shoots the bang flag, and then it turns out to be a spear gun. The best joke with that too being the fact there's an orange safety tip. on the gun. It's like, oh, it's children's safe.
That is a really good detail.
Yep. Also, the source of all the recuts, that gun.
All right.
All right, let's see. Sorry, what was I? It's a good. Here's the thing with the spear gun though, and we'll circle to other things. The bang flag gun is a nice foreshadow to the significance it's going to have in that flashback. So there's a purpose behind this opening with Lord. He's not just killing a guy willy nilly. I mean, admittedly,
it's also just a good fake out though, because I feel like with the animated stuff, you see the Joker use the bang flag gun so many times, and there's no actual gunshot.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was a good, like, oh shit, okay, he means business this time.
Absolutely, and also the fact that we have a Joker's gang that's like they're going less for like, again, like the creds and like, the finance, like, again, they're not just punk kids. They're kind of servicing, like, here's the guy we got our namesake from, so they're kind of differentiating themselves from all the other cells of Jokerz,
Right.
They're working for what they believe to be the real guy, and lo and behold, he is. So, let's see. There's
I mean, there's one big thing we really need to talk about with the. I really like how the movie ranches up the tension with the first attack. Is if we're looking for a great Conroy scene, Dragon, I kind of feel like the laughing is that's got to be it, right?
Yeah, no. Well, yes,
gotta be.
No, it is. Admittedly, though, there are a number of really great counter moments.
Don't get me wrong. I feel like this is definitely, like, if this was an episode, it would be one of those episodes that is just full of great Conroy moments. It's an embarrassment of riches. But that laughing scene, man, I feel like that laughing scene is kind of like what separates Conroy from the pack. He didn't do much voice acting, but man, when he did, he was such a pro at it.
Oh yeah. So I guess to build that up just a bit to just the significance of that moment. So again, just Joker, when he reemerges and just seeing Bruce Wayne's reaction, the whole, like, it can't be, when he emerges, it, like, Joker's reemergence there's a lot of really interesting parallels that get into the story in terms of what we're telling. Because if we're doing a Batman Beyond movie, like, what is it? What was the whole point of Batman Beyond? It's Batman passing the torch to this younger guy, and we're going to make the audience care about him as much as historically we care about Bruce Wayne being Batman. So there's a huge legacy component as a running motif through this story. With the Jokerz are like a symbol of Batman's mission failing. The fact that they outlived Batman, he hung it up initially, and of course now we've challenged that with the emergence of a new Batman. But we reveal ultimately Joker Beyond. That's what we're calling him. They kind of like, again, also with that Joker Beyond design too. I love that he looks kind of like a mime. He's like a mime meets Hannibal Lecter.
Totally.
See, I liked it in the design logic when they were built. When Bruce Timm was sketching them, he struggled with the design because he kept adding things onto the suit, and he realized, like, let's subtract like we subtracted with Batman, and then we're just gonna, like, to the point where it's like, no flour, nothing on him, and we'll just give him these big like Frankenstein strangler hands, and like make him look like like Hannibal Lecter, and just let's go that route. And he just looks like a demented mime.
It's just all these little, it's the initial kind of like the combination of the two designs that we already talked about. But I feel like the mime stuff also kind of calls to mind just the roots of the character, almost just kind of like the man who laughed stuff.
Absolutely. I mean? There's a lot of Conrad Veidt in there, the black and white.
Right, yeah.
Okay, it is. It's probably worth noting that Mark Hamill, he actually kind of struggled a little bit with this movie because, again, until that flashback, he's not playing traditional Joker. He's playing like an older, wizened, kind of like, he's more reserved Joker, who then explodes in the third act. But until then, it's like he's kind of playing a little quieter than usual.
No, I can, that is one of those unsung things about voice acting, is that so many people that aren't in the know just assume it's like, oh, it's just doing an impression, or it's just, inventing a voice and kind of running with it. But no, it's like you need to have the whole range of the character, and with this, you're right, he's just on on a tightrope when it comes to the tone and how much he wants to actually let loose.
Yeah. So guys, I loved it in the Joker's reemergence, just the horrified look on Bruce's face here. It's just the fact that it's like the whole chip thing with the Joker is like this twisted plan to ensure that he lives on to torment Batman and Gotham long.
It's like so fucking Joker, man. It's so
But isn't
Joker.
that like a great answer? Like, what is Joker's what is Joker's version of a Batman beyond? Is that I'm going to make sure my legacy endures and just keeps torturing you to the end of time, even after you're dead.
Right.
Like that's
It's
Dini
so
right
specifically
you,
on brand for the Dini of it all. Like you said, specifically the Batman, the animated series version of the Joker.
Like, you know what's so great about it too? It's the fact that if you boil it down, Joker doesn't respect or trust the Jokerz at all because he knows they're idiots. You know, they're henchmen. They're goons with a gimmick. You know, like basically, what if the goons actually committed to the theatricality? Which also is a great thing with design too, where he's like a mime, but all the theatricality is in his minions. Like they're dressed up like traditional Joker stuff, but not him.
Sure.
But it's the fact that again he doesn't trust his the next generation for him. Where Bruce absolutely does. Bruce does trust Terry. You know, he's putting his faith in the next generation. Joker does not. He wants to do it himself. So there's an ego there, and you know, it's the mad. You know, it's the ego of the colorfully madcap clown. You know, he just Joker refuses to share the spotlight. It has to be him, and that's classic for that character.
All right, so Dragon, I feel like we need to go over some comments, but with the comments, guys, Kogias, I love you, but if I read through every one of your comments, it would very much slow the pacing of the podcast to a halt, my friends. So love your enthusiasm though, but Dragon, keep an eye out for anything that you want to specifically shout out. But Kogias asks us, I know it's hard to compare a film to episodes, but do you think that this film is better written than most of the episodes in the series? You know what? I wouldn't say better, because you're right. It is two different things. And honestly, I feel like one of the benefits of an episode as opposed to a film is that you can really get in and tighten it, right? Like, because we've seen a lot of episodes that are very, very well written. And I would say especially Batman Beyond, I think the level of writing is very, very top tier for most of these episodes. But I will say that with Return of the Joker, obviously you have you can do more pathos. We do more stuff with Bruce Wayne. We kind of have Terry McGinnis sort of like establish his mission statement for being Batman in the first place in this episode. So I know it's two different beasts, but I would say it's on par. What do you think, Dragon?
I mean, this movie clearly does have the advantage of it has enough time to fit in a really involved flashback, which ordinarily we would not do in the show. So we are getting a lot of mileage out of it. But then again, it's like a thing of like, look at Rebirth. Rebirth's 2 parts, though. You know?
Sure, yeah.
That's the thing. Sometimes you need like a little extra runtime, but then you have something like Meltdown. Meltdown's a really great, contained episode. So sometimes it
or like the last 2 or 3 episodes that we got in season 2 specifically. I'm thinking of,
with the exception of something like Mystery of the Batwoman, our feature lengths have usually given us really good results in the DCAU. You know, in terms of like actually like in comparison to like maybe like as a benefit to what we do in the episodes. For Mystery of the Batwoman, I don't know. It just feels like. I'm not saying that doesn't feel like a combination.
That could have been just a law. That could have been a 2-parter if they really wanted it to be.
Yeah, possibly, sure. Anyway, it feels like they're filling time in that versus like, okay, we're using every part of the Buffalo on Phantasm or this, so.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's see. Little Blue has an interesting comment. He says, would you guys consider Joker's death in this a good one? Because Nostalgia Critic talked about that.
Oh, absolutely. This is a great death for the Joker.
I think, honestly, if you're, and, leave it to the Nostalgia Critic to not be that media literate, right? But I think if you're reading this as like an underwhelming death or kind of coming out of nowhere or something, you're reading it wrong, honestly. Because I think this is a perfect death for Joker.
Yeah.
I think, just the fact that him dying basically destroyed the Bat family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the ultimate victory for him. So yeah, I would say so. Like I can see the argument for it's just a random gunshot, but yeah. Oh, he remembers Nostalgia Critic praising the death.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, well, I would hope that if he has
For
any
some
sense,
reason, I just assumed that the Nostalgia Critic was like, you know what? It's the Joker, and he just randomly gets shot. What's up with that?
It's better than falling. It's better than falling to his death from a helicopter.
Well, that's very true. All right, let's see. Lucas Green says, plot hole. You know how the original Joker made a chip in the glory times of Bruce Wayne's Batman? He's not a genius mastermind with technology. It's not Drake. It's Joker Prime who made the chip. So how?
No. Okay, I can clear this up.
Okay.
Okay, Lucas Green. No. Joker. No, the Tim Drake Joker didn't build the chip. I know he's the telecommunications genius, but again, that's telecommunications. That's not the chip though. Joker, we establish he was a retroactive thing from this movie, mind you. Because of this movie, retroactively they connect the dots. Because when they did the Wild Cards episode of Justice League, Joker broke into Cadmus and created the Royal Flush Gang, and when he did that, he snagged the Cadmus technology for the chip. This is probably he kind of nicked things here and there, and honestly, in the comics they're doing now, like Paul Dini, he's been kind of throwing things there. He's nabbed a bunch of stuff from Cadmus, so we've kind of established that when he raids Cadmus facilities, when he's done that, that's probably where he got the technology. All he needed to do is just sample his own DNA somehow. That's the main thing. So a lot of it's just kind of like he stole it from a government facility, which we've established in the DCAU. So,
all right.
Yeah,
Dragon. Like I said, just just kind of keep an eye out for comments if you want to read them. But I will too. But folks, I knew that this would be a busy night when it comes to comments. Usually, I like to read every comment, but like I said, I'm kind of trying to be mindful of the pacing of this conversation. So, all right.
So we should talk about the Bruce and Terry breakups a little bit more here. This is a big moment.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
So Bruce,
you know what? I think this might be Will Friedle's finest hour. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Totally.
He's possibly his best. Well, the whole movie's probably his best performance in the entirety of Batman Beyond. But this scene here, it might be. It's.
I mean, like I already kind of laid out. I feel like this scene is it's basically like Terry's mission statement as Batman.
Yeah, I love what gets us to the seniors. Bruce, he wants Terry to quit mainly to protect him from the Joker. It's like the subtext of the scene. Like he's not just being mean to him here. It's not just randomly. It's not like a random thing. It's just like this is long overdue. We're in season 2. We're at 2 seasons have gone by. You avenge your father's murder. I want you to get out of here. It's not any of that. It's. But I
do like the fact that Bruce does acknowledge that pretty much everything that Terry set out to do at the start of the episode, at the start of the series, he's already done.
At the end of season 1, he accomplished it. Right.
Yeah.
Which again is like we're calling out here. Like you don't need to be. You've been given a gift here. I was never able to get closure for my family. It's half the reason I do this. So and you've done that. You've saved lives. You don't owe this city anything anymore. You're good. But again, he's saying this too after I love how this scene plays, by the way. So the idea is that even still, Bruce, given how he is, he hasn't laid out the whole painful story about what happened at the start of Rebirth to Terry. So Terry questions, you killed the Joker, didn't you? Because he was going to do something. I love how understanding Will Friedle is in this moment in the performance. It's like, he was going to do something so terrible, you had no choice. And he knows. Sure. But again, it would be a really good rationale for him. Like, that's why you quit being Batman. You killed the Joker.
He's close. He's close. He's on the right track. Yeah.
And I love that. He's kind of, Bruce, in a sense, he's doing this to protect Terry. And also, maybe in a small sense, he's doing it to kind of protect him from reopening a wound, maybe, to some degree. Anyway, so, but again, there's a nice mystery build up in this movie of oh God, did he? Because we didn't see the Joker. We don't know what happened to the Joker.
I mean, obviously, I know.
Well,
but
I know you know. But
no, I know.
To the viewing audience.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, so he points out, anyway, so Terry confesses that in large part, he's doing all this to atone as a community service of sorts for his juvie days. Even though the state said, he did his time. He did. He feels like he needs to do right by his folks. And basically, what we lays out here is like the actual healthy attitude towards Batman's mission,
I know, right?
which is great. It's the idea of like, I feel like a worthwhile human being when I'm wearing that suit. There's actually a deleted line from this, which is interesting. I think you'd appreciate that. We don't miss it here, but he was going to cite Dana's father in this speech. He was going to essentially say, "I've seen how essentially Mr. Tan or somehow Mr. Tanner, Dana's dad, looks at me still like Pap. He still looks at me like that, and I got to
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
Which again we've seen like in Mr. Tan very down on McGinnis because he's got a record, so it was maybe going to be brought up in this. At least in the script, it was brought up, and then they kind of altered that, and then the whole time crunch of it all. I think for the best, but it's got a little neat, little factoid. But again, so Bruce, how do you read Bruce's reaction? Where he says like, "Stupid kid, you don't know what you want."
You know how I read it? I read it as that's definitely a contender for the Great Conroy moment. Is how I read it. It's great, but it's also very much. I kind of feel like there's multiple different interpretations in it within that same delivery.
Yeah,
it's like I feel like on some level he's honestly, Dragon. Mostly the way I read it is that he's very frustrated at Terry because he fucking knows that Terry's right.
Absolutely. And again,
that's how I read it.
He also had spelled like, "Man, this is how a healthy person becomes Batman."
right, yeah.
There was tragedy, but he seems again he got closure for it, and he's just still doing the right thing. He's got chipper about it. Yeah, so but that's the thing that where he says that again, you can read it very much as like he's just saying it like get out of here, go on, get kind of a moment. But at the same time, though, like I like to think of it as he is caught off guard and then he doubles down. That's the way I like to read it. However, the way I think visually it reads is that it's a bit of like Terry getting a taste of Bruce's attitude towards the Bat family at times, which is like,
oh yeah, sure.
Bar, where I think Bruce maybe he does think that like he's a little insulted before he really thinks about what Terry said by the end of the movie, where it's like you don't know what you ever want. He thinks he's being naive here, and again, like this is going to get him killed, and he's really pissed off about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, then Terry's he throws down the suit, and it's very sad. He runs away. So Terry's kind of had his old wounds moment here. So this is a big moment between the rift forms here.
Sure.
Thankfully, it doesn't stay, but I like that we kind of like Terry's been warned about this sort of thing of Bruce, and he suffers it here before our eyes.
All right. Let's see. So Richard's Victims is saying, can you please talk about the scene where Joker makes his return public to Gotham? We kind of talked about it through the lens of Bruce Wayne, which is, just his reaction. Just the way it's played is great. But yeah, do you have anything more to say about that specific moment, Dragon?
I love Dini's dialogue has a great flow to it, and I love that even though Joe's just meeting the new Batman for the first time, there's just kind of one, of course, like, "Hello, Gotham, Joker's back in town." Everyone's just traumatized, like, "Oh God, he's back, and he's not like a punk kid in cosplay. He's actually back."
Exactly.
So there's a freak out there, but also the fact like when they should like, "Okay, easy, gruesome," he says like, "Ears are too long, and I missed the cape, but not too shabby at all." Wolf, he just says,
you're absolutely right. The dialogue is just off the chain, man. It really is.
It's like, oh my God, Dini in his prime. Look at him, totally. Tiki, in his prime.
Height of his powers. All right.
Anyway, so I guess we should. Okay, so big scene. The big scene would be like the Batcave invasion. So this is something Dini had been Dini had been pitching this for years. I want to say ever since Batman the Animated Series, since the beginning. We kind of like a little nod to it once in the Dreams in Darkness episodes. Dini didn't. I don't think Dini wrote, but where you see for a brief moment Joker's like he's hallucinating that Joker's in like the reflection of the Batcave for a moment,
right?
Like the Bat computer, but. Joker in the Batcave is a huge deal, and it's all sorts of wrong. And there's such a dread where he does something horrible to the dog off screen.
I know, right?
Then the Joker gas. And the whole
Dragon, I will just say for the record, as an animal lover, I would have been pissed if they would have killed off Ace in this movie, man.
Yeah, I mean, Ace.
Don't touch that fucking dog.
We do punish him a little in this movie, but
I know.
Dog, that dog's tough, man. He bites through metal. It's a tough dog. Okay, so this is so twisted. So Terry rushes home after with the whole rave action sequence, which is great. You have this whole thing where he's on the motorcycle going the way, man. Realizing, wait a minute, it's night. Where does he go? He goes all the way there, and to his horror, he sees Ace's leg is practically knocked out, and he sees that the grandfather clock is like smashed open. And he goes downstairs, and I love this moment. It gives me chills every time. He sees "ha ha ha" graffitied all over the place. He says, "Oh God, please no," because that's it. Now remember, this Joker does know everything about him. So he knows that Terry is the new Batman, as we reveal later at this point, most likely as well. So he's doing this specifically to traumatize Terry for the death of his father.
Sure.
So he's just making this, he's sticking the knife as deep as it'll go here. And again, truly breathtaking sequence. Tiki, the only time in the DCAU, rarely period in DC, honestly, but I'm not saying it's never happened again in DC, in the history of DC and other animated projects and stuff, but the only time in the DCAU do we ever get a Jokerized Bruce Wayne.
And it is just fucking haunting, especially because it's old man Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, initially he looks dead, and then like the whole gas, and what Kevin Conroy does here again, as you said already,
it's incredible. It's literally like next level voice acting.
Yep. But it's the fact that he's breaking with the laughs because he's in agony right now. This is the last thing he wants to do. But I love that he had the contingency. He knew this was coming. He knew he was going to show up in that Batcave, and he had the Joker toxin, the antitoxin at the ready. And it's the fact that mid laugh, he's using all the willpower he has left in his body. He's trying to say under the table, and he's fighting that smile for all he's worth. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing sequence. All right, so also I should mention this episode is where I believe we first got Angie Harmon, the new Barbara Gordon. Because we were unable to get Stalker Channing after I think Eyewitness was the last one we got her, and then we changed it to Angie Harmon. Mm-hmm. Does a great job here. I think she sounds more like Tara Strong in a weird way with Angie Harmon because she has like more of a rasp to her.
No, I like her. Yeah. And I also like how big of a role Barbara has in this movie. I feel like it was an appropriate place to really kind of elevate her role within the series. And you know me, Dragon, I Barbara Gordon in this series is one of those things where when we first started, I was very hesitant because of just the whole Bruce Barbara shipping thing. But time and time again, every time she's popped up, she surprised me with how much she adds to the show, I think. And this is no exception.
We get 3 McGinnises in this. Okay, here's the thing. We get 3 McGinnises. However, only one of them is said by Bruce Wayne. That's the only one we can count.
That's fair.
Like Dana says when he's flirting while he's sleeping, he says, like, Terry, my hair's on fire. You look great. Like, McGinnis. Then we have him, like, grilling Barbara for answers, like, McGinnis. Then we have, when he gets, like, the electrical trap thrown on his wrist, like, McGinnis. So, anyway. Yes, so Angie Harmon wonderfully can accuse up the big flashback scene. So this is the big thing we got to talk about here. We can talk
it's practically like the heart of the whole movie, man. You know what else I really love about this, and I'm sure it's even more gratifying to you because you're just obviously such a big fan of the original animated series, is that this basically feels like the best, most theatrical, most tragic episode of Batman the Animated Series ever, just wedged into this movie.
Yep.
That's what it feels like, Dragon, and it's great. Like, it really does just feel like we are right there. This is not Batman Beyond. This is not the new adventures of Batman. This is not the adventures of Batman and Robin or whatever that show's called. This is Batman the Animated Series. And it's so cool.
Oh, absolutely! It's it's roughly 15 minutes, so it's essentially it's almost the length of a full episode, which is crazy. It's like 12 to 15 minutes or something. It's
okay. Before we go on, there, Lucas Green did kind of offer up an important question, which I think is really interesting. In Richard's Victims, I see. I'll get to you after this. Is this film Terry's or Bruce's? You could argue it's Bruce's demons, but it's Terry who has to put the pieces together.
There are two big arguments with this film, Tiki. One of them is the one Lucas Green just said. The other one is like, what's the better film? Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, Mask of the Phantasm. Those are the two age-old debates.
I'm guessing you're leaning towards Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes, but it's a fair argument, though.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It is a fair argument, but I will always say Phantasm.
I'm leaning slightly towards this. I
know. I understand that reasoning, though. I get it, though. I'm not upset with that. I get it. It's a very valid argument, but
as far as whose film it is, I feel like it's Terry's movie, just because the whole premise of this movie, I feel like the whole mission statement of what this movie is trying to accomplish is it's basically Terry's baptism into the fabric of the Bat family.
Yes.
So in that regard, I definitely think, obviously Bruce Wayne has a very pivotal part to play in that, but I think it is very much Terry's story.
If the movie ended with Bruce, like if we stayed with Bruce when he went into the hospital, it would have been Bruce's movie.
Which we'll get to that. That's a great ending.
We will. But that's the thing. So that is not. Yeah. So because of that, we end on Terry. The movie is intended to be Terry's movie, but for the reasons you said. But additionally, Terry is the audience is learning the secret, the things about the Bat family. So it's very much we're in Terry's perspective. So I would say it's Terry's movie.
All right, and Richard's Victims, I will get to you now. You're saying the Joker flashback is so good because it feels like the Joker was ready to end the whole thing. Rather Joker dies or Bruce dies. This was Joker's final act, and he hated that Batman wasn't the one that killed him.
Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, he wanted Batman to pop his head off right there, but he didn't.
Geekvolution had a line about this movie that Terry was never a Robin, and I think that's the point. Yeah, totally.
Fun fact, I made that rewind happen.
Did you really?
I won a Batman trivia contest, and I got to pick the rewind, and the one I picked was Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
That's awesome.
No joke, actually. Yeah. Also, fun fact, because I won that thing, that's why I stuck with my username.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of my origin. So basically, I just kind of had a...
So now we're getting into the dark and fucked up origin story for Bluedragonfive. No, obviously it's not dark and fucked up.
You went a little overly aggressive on that one, but okay. Not Sweet Tooth's origin, but you know.
God. I still need to check that out. Anyways.
God, all right. No, not the Deer Boy, by the way. I'm not talking about like the clown from Twisted Metal.
Yes, I know.
I know you know. I'm talking to them in case they don't know.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes. Randomly.
Although I feel like most people, when they hear Sweet Tooth, they probably associate it with.
I mean, it's a comic and there's a Netflix show about it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot it was a comic too. Anyways.
Yeah. Anywho, okay, so the flashback, huge deal. Very hyped for this movie against the whole the events of oh man, it's like, can we see the Batman series one last time? So this was big. It's something that we were never promised in Batman Beyond at all. So it was quite the treat. So Joker and Harley, they kidnap Robin.
I'm just the music scores, just like the music cues and the animation. It feels like a homecoming.
It is nice. They got we had the Chris Carter working on us, who was basically like an agent of Shirley Walker's, not an actual agent, but basically all the great composers from Batman the Answers are very much under the tutelage of Shirley Walker and working in conjunction with her. So it's kind of like a son of Walker, one could say. And Chris Carter here, he acted for this film, got a full orchestral score, which they did not have on Batman Beyond. They really go really orchestral with it, so that's why this scene really plays as flawlessly as it does. So so they kidnap Robin. Now again, this is the Tim Drake Robin, not Dick Grayson, or as Tiki should be reminded,
God.
Not DG. Tiki. So DG is Dick Grayson. It's not him. He became Nightwing in Bloodhaven. He left Gotham for Bloodhaven. That's DG. That's Dick Grayson. Okay.
All right. I got it.
Okay, good. Okay, because there's
I will say,
DD.
it would have been really interesting to see old man DG in this movie. Was there ever any talk of including anything like that, Dragon, that you know of?
No, I think they knew that. Okay, people, the big fan criticism, in quotes criticism, like the big fan criticism, like, really, Nightwing, we only get 2 lines.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
Like the 2 lines being, he went to establish himself in another city, and you should look up Nightwing sometime. He's got issues. Like he's got stories. With, let's just say, in one of the things that we'll be covering, kind of adjacent to Batman Beyond, I think he shows up in the thing we're going to talk about. So you may or may not see him.
Okay, nice.
Anyway, just in case the what if, like what did he turn out to be, or what would he have turned out to be? You'll find out. So, point being, you have this tragic story. Search for weeks. Robin gets kidnapped again. Kind of we're borrowing this whole story very much. Dini doing his own version, but it like tonally it feels like Killing Joke and Death in the Family.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I like that it's so unique to it, though. It's not like the same thing, but it has like these.
No, it is. It's not just a straight up adaptation at all. Yeah.
It's like taking let's take the starting points, or like the starting points are like kind of Joker narrating over a thing is kind of like these like a horrible visual thing of sorts. Anyway, so they end up in the now abandoned Arkham Asylum, which is so unbelievably creepy, and they go to my favorite dark joke in the movie, the operating theater. Which the idea that so this is like a thing that they did lobotomies in this part of the asylum,
right,
and they've turned it into like almost like a theatrical production, like it's theatrical in that way. It's a theater for the absurd now, and we have this I Love Lucy kind of situation where
I can't get over. It's such a good idea, and they understand the Joker and Harley dynamic so well. Where it's just like we have this big elaborate like sitcom thing, and it's literally set up for the darkest, most twisted shit to ever happen in the animated Batman canon, and I love that. It's such a dichotomy. It's such a contrast.
Now, not that we technically showed this in the episode, but it was in the comic that the episode adapted. In Mad Love, Harley wanted to settle down and have kids with the Joker. So in a dark, and Dini wrote that. So in a sense, Harley being party to this is like her achieving her hopes and dreams in doing something super dark to make that happen.
Right. I also love how, like, even a subtle thing like Harley, like, whacking him over the head with just the comedically oversized mallet, something as simple as that. It's like they're really going out of their way to, like, make the whole thing, like, a literal cartoon until it's very much not.
Oh God, yes. So then again, Mark Hamill. He's just everyone's flawless. Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin, and it's just this like instead of going through all the joy of childbirth, we decided to adopt. But it's also as Richard's Victims kind of laid out the whole like this is basically this is kind of Joker's endgame, and very much I think Joker goes into this plot. I think Richard Victims is absolutely correct here. Joker knows this is going to be the thing to push him over the edge. If this doesn't work, I don't know what will. Because when Joker initially greets Batman, he says something, I think there's truth in this line, where he says, we've been doing this little runaround of ours for years, but the sad fact of the matter is none of us are getting any younger. So again, Joker is thinking about the future, which is why, again, he has the Cadmus chip at the ready. With the whole, so again, this plan, even if it fails, he has the ultimate contingency set up.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's that. And beyond that, it's like this already, again, he's going to do something just to kind of like really mess with Batman's head and then just kind of ensure that he's going to get the last laugh even at this. So again, really, Dini really did come up with a great idea for Joker. No wonder Joker's prepared, to die, prepared for like Batman, their dance to end in the most glorious fashion ever, because again, he knows for sure he's going to get the last laugh because of this plot that he's cooked up. So that's brilliant to me.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, just thesis. So we always remembered you had a few spare kids lying around.
That's great.
So we borrowed one. The minute he says, "So we borrowed one," and he hits it, and we reveal it, and just like my God, and the music gets all twisted, and we hear like almost like the guitar strings kind of playing. It's like this, like not more like violent, like the little strings are being pulled as we just hear, "Oh God, something is horribly, horribly wrong." Say hello, JJ, and just Batman with this score, and just Conroy's performance in this flashback from this moment on. It is the most pissed off Batman has ever been in the
Oh yeah, for sure.
DCAU. He could not hate the Joker more, particularly later on. Well, we'll get to I'm sure your favorite line in the movie. We'll get there.
Oh my God, you know exactly what it is.
I know exactly what it is. We'll get there in a second. We're almost
right.
there. So there's the fact, like,
Batman. I was like, the writers have to know what they're doing there, right? They have to know.
But still, think about this, D. Again, this is only in the uncut version, mind you. But again, like, he cuts through Batman playing it smart throughout the scene. I love we can visually see it. He's like, no, Batgirl, don't save me. I want to hear what his plot is. I'll free myself. But on instinct, Batman's so ticked off. He cuts through and he tries chucking that knife at Joker's head. He tries killing him in that moment. Batman's kind of snapped here.
Sure.
He is to the edge. He's done so. Joker is basically he's Jokerized Tim Drake beyond the point of recognition. He's driven him mad and crazy. He's given him one bad day. So we have this, of course, we have the sequence here. We seemingly kill off Harley Quinn, which Dini was very nonplussed about, by the way. It's the whole reason we had that ending tacked on, because the word was he was in a hotel crying to Bruce Tim over the phone. Like, Bruce, I can't. It's like, no, Paul, she's done something. No, sir, that's the way they joke about it, but that's essentially he's like on the phone, like, no, I can't. She's my character.
You killed my baby.
Yep, but it's like, no, she's done something horrible, Paul. She has to be punished for it. And that's literally at the end of the movie. The reason Nana Harley comes back is like, Dini tried
to seem a little tacked on, and that is clearly why.
It's actually really cute. Okay, so Dini
No, I liked it, but it did have that tacked on feeling.
No, I mean the reason it made it into the movie, they're trying to cut out 14 minutes of this movie, and Dini's like sneaking in this scene with Nana Harley in it. Dini's like, Bruce is gonna take it out. They're gonna make me take it out. He's like, you know what? This movie's so dark. We need a laugh. Let's keep it in. So it was kind of like, it's like his friendship to Paul Dini is like, we're gonna keep Nana Harley. I think it's really sweet.
That is nice, yeah.
And it's his baby too. I mean, they co-created her, so Okay. Anyway, so we have the action scenes with Harley there. Anyway, get mommy's bazooka.
Oh my God!
All right, so then we have.
We also have to talk about Tim Drake's laugh in this scene, man, because it is fucking haunting.
You want to know how that? Like, I'm not telling anyone in the audience here something they don't know, but I'm going to tell you.
Sure.
So Matt Valencia, the voice of Tim Drake, we very briefly had a line with him before he's all laughs, mind you. But so he is not doing the laughing at all. That's Andrea Romano, the voice.
Oh man,
she's doing here's why, because the laughing just wasn't quite there. Mainly the laughing and the crying, he could not do it at the same time. So
that's crazy. Yeah,
the shift. So like that's Andrea Romano right there, just being flawless and perfect. As a voice, like she's a voice director for a reason, kid. She knows that.
Sure,
she can do it too. It's like she's not asking anyone to do what she can't do.
Yeah, that's super impressive.
Oh yeah, but you're right. Just the creepy, like, non-coherent laugh where he's basically you don't understand. He can't talk. He's just giving like the little giggles throughout the whole. It's so creepy. One could say it's very creepy. Anyway, so the reason how we got to that point. So we have this scene's very Killing Joke inspired, where Batman's like he's hearing the Joker narrate over like no witty comebacks. I'll provide the narration. And we have our family memories, and we have this demented home movies that the Joker took of like how he tortured Robin, and he's showing this to Batman. It's how he tortured Robin, peeling back the layers of the boy's mind and driving him utterly insane. And I love just like the whole thing of like, oh, you would have he fought hard. You would have been proud, Batsy. But all too soon, the serums and the shocks, he told me secrets, such secrets that are mine alone to know, Bruce. So he knows, and then we have one of the big lines of the whole movie. Much like the kid who peeks early at his Christmas presents, I must admit it's sadly anticlimactic. Behind all the stern and batarangs, you're just a little boy in a playsuit crying for mommy and daddy. I'd laugh if it weren't so pathetic. Now, what the heck? I'll laugh anyway. That's the Joker line, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally.
It's like if Joker did find out, he
I mean,
absolutely.
I think that this is like this whole movie is honestly like it feels way more like Mark Hamill doing a chance to do Killing Joke than actual Killing Joke, honestly.
I mean, in part, you have to wonder. Okay, one, Hamill's already like, oh man, I gotta do Reserve Joker. Okay, Mark, we're gonna give you like the classic Joker. Like, oh boy, and we're gonna give you a scene that's a little akin to Killing Joke. Really? I think he's perfect. I think all of the energy that he's been like, it's almost like a thing of like you hold back and then it's like the horse race almost. You hold the horse back and he goes out really fast, double fast for the race. I think it's just been building up in him, and also I think there's the excitement of it's a little bit like Killing Joke, but it's our own thing.
Right.
The closest I'm ever gonna get to it. Little did he know.
Yeah, but seriously, I really feel like this is just like it really. That's honestly like low key Killing Joke. You know how I feel about that. It's like I feel like by the time we got into Killing Joke, I don't know. I almost feel like Conroy and Hamill, like they were fine in it, but I don't really feel like it was like the career defining performances that we wanted it to be. And I feel like that was a lot of different factors, but this is career defining Mark Hamill Joker right here.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so Batman, he is so ticked off. He jumps through the window. He's beating him up, and the score is amazing. It's the lighting of like the little projector, and we have the line that I know you love. Do you want to tell him about it?
No, I feel like you could do it more word for word than I could. So go ahead.
He's holding the Joker up after he's punched him a bunch of times. He's like, if you don't like the movie, I've got slides.
Now keep in mind, folks, Dragon and I, through 2 seasons of the show, I think the slideshow thing might be the best running gag that we have in our arsenal when it comes to Batman Beyond. Is that fair to say?
For Batman Beyond, it's the most recurring joke, though.
Yeah. So I think I'm just tickled pink that in the big Batman Beyond movie, we directly reference the slideshow thing.
Now, Tiki,
it's got to be a reference to Bruce Wayne's slideshow thing, right? It's got to be.
Okay, so no, here's the thing.
You don't think it is?
Well, I think you're going to appreciate this. Okay, so here's the thing. No, I don't think it's like them referencing the slides thing. However, the moment you made the run, basically you turned the slides into a running gag, I knew this was coming. So
okay, got it. So you kind of did the inception.
I stoked the fire of like I figured the moment I said slideshow, I was thinking, I think subconsciously I was thinking of this movie, and then you mentioned that I realized, oh yeah, we're gonna get there, so we're gonna keep this running gag. So
Bluedragonfive playing the long con when it comes to these Batman related podcasts, folks.
In this case, the long Conroy, but yes,
right,
absolutely. So, but yeah, so it's great. Just Batman's so ticked off, he throws him from the window of like the little projector room. And he's just like, I'll break you.
He's ready to kill him, man. He's ready to. I
love how tight you can hear like his hands wrapping around his.
Yeah.
And just again, another great Conroy contender. I'll break you in two, and he absolutely means it this time. Oh, Batsy, if you have the guts for that kind of fun, you would have done years ago. I, on the other hand, then big moment. I was waiting to get your reaction to this one. So, origin of the cane.
yeah, for sure.
Joker
is cool to see.
Stabbed him in the leg, and that's why Bruce Wayne hobbles around on a cane.
You know what I love about the cane dragon? I love how at this point in the series, and especially going into this movie, I feel like Bruce Wayne basically uses the cane as like a weapon in the same way that Scrooge McDuck can.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if old man Bruce Wayne were a Smash Brothers character, the cane would definitely be like the main thing in his move set.
Yeah.
All right.
A few comments real quick.
Yeah. Sure. Well, let's see. Lucas Green says it's fitting that after finally knowing Batman's identity, he still calls him Batman, and he doesn't let this change him. He just laughs. That is very fitting.
Yeah.
Let's see. Teddy's saying it's just so much more dark than anything this Joker up until then has done, and it still feels like his Joker. It doesn't feel like the Mark Hamill Joker this feels like Mark Hamill's Joker who's ready to retire.
Right.
And then also, I just love how sadistic he is here. He's done playing around, and I get the feeling if he killed Bruce, he'll just be done with it like that. Like that was his punchline, and that he'll be done. Yeah, I kind of feel like if he killed Bruce in this moment, he probably would just like arguably kill himself, maybe.
Well, ultimately, that's kind of the age-old thing with the Joker. You know, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we've explored that at times. The whole he basically Joker. The way we play is usually Joker. If less kill himself, it's more Joker just goes sane. He actually finds his way to sanity after
right,
which is twisted. But yeah. Anyway, so the big thing here where he stabs Batman, he's kind of at his low point here, and he says like, "Face it, Batman, you lost. Robin is mine now." And then Joker's big punchline here is, "Okay, I want your ward, who looks like me, to kill you. I'm not even going to kill you. Robin's going to kill you." Or like my new again. He's basically as Dini always looked at this, and it was such a brilliant way that he did this. What's the worst thing Joker can do versus killing Batman? It's taking away his newfound family.
Oh yeah,
it's
for
basically
sure.
Batman's a character who's always trying to like.
I would say that's arguably worse than just straight up killing Batman.
Exactly, which is exactly why Dini kind of like that. That's why everyone's wondering why didn't you just kill Robin? Well, killing Robin's one thing, but like taking away his newfound family is even worse. You know.
Sure.
And again, because of this, the Bat family kind of dissolves, so there's lasting damage there. Which again, Scott Snyder down the line, he's looking at this movie. I'm sure, at least in some part. You know, I mean, I know he watches the animated series and everything, so I know he definitely looked at it. But yeah. So, anyway, so we have this horrible thing here where, you know, again, another great Conroy moment here where you see this is like, I love the way he says Tim. It's like, that's the Batman just at his utter lowest point here, just like saying genuinely, trying to reach the boy, thinking he's going to die. Tim. Because there's just so much sadness in the way he says that.
Sure.
And I think that reaches the kid because I love that in Tim's last moment of sanity, in the fleeting moment, like a little crack in the thing, he chooses to save Batman by shooting the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And the Joker's famous last word, this is why he's the best Joker. This is one of the best Joker. That's like, that's not funny. That's not. But
I love how it's not like what I love about that is that it's not a perfect line. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not a punchline. It's like he's trying to do a punchline, but he doesn't quite get there. That's very realistic.
Yeah. So again, it's Joker's fair. He hates being preempted. You know, like again, the fact that someone else took him out versus Batman taking him out, as was said earlier. But okay, so in the censored version, you're probably wondering, how did Joker die in the censored version? Well, Tiki,
it's so crazy because I feel like specifically the way that he dies, it's kind of a crucial plot point.
It is, and also again, you get a lot more mileage out of the way he dies in the uncut version. Because think about this: there's a whole thing of like, why is Bruce so distant with Tim Drake? And again, Dini always had this great read on that. Deep down, Bruce can't forgive that he broke the two rules. He used the gun and he killed the Joker. He killed somebody and shot him. And it's a twisted thing where he did it to save him, but like that's Bruce Wayne's code kind of in him, where he feels bad. It's always a reminder of what happened. That's why he kind of distanced himself from Tim. But maybe deep down, on a psychological level, it's like,
we obviously like we start the whole series with the gun thing, so you know it's not something that's unfounded, even in Batman Beyond, you know.
But I mean, how it's so sad, isn't it? That again, Tim did this after being subjected to so much mental trauma, and the fact that Bruce can't forgive that.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I think it goes to show, kind of speaks to how broken the whole Bat family is.
which is great. Now, here's what we lose in doing all that in the censored version. Okay, so the censored version, basically, the scene plays out. We don't see the stab to the leg, but he basically, Joker, like, off screen, like, slaps him, I guess. He falls down. Somehow Batman gets knocked. The eye, on the other hand, then whack, falls. Joker says, deliver the punchline. He doesn't say deliver punchline. He says, like, make him one of us. Like, the idea is you're going to hit him with this and he'll be Jokerized and he'll be laughing. So that's essentially, be like a little Jokerized Batman. And he throws the gun away. He charges at the Joker. Then randomly behind him, there's like a little lab set up. And Joker, like, they're smashing like some things of water. So the floor's wet. Joker's covered in water. And in chasing after the boy, he slips in the water and he pulls on a lever, and off screen, as Batman's like running to the scene, we hear basically Joker got electrocuted. It's a haunting scream that Mark Hamill gives as he's being electrocuted, but he accidentally slipped and electrocuted himself. That's how he dies in the censored version.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the same impact.
But again, as a kid, you'd never know, though. The first time you watch it, you'd never know. It's like, well, that's kind of a way to take him out, but it's not really. It's like when you watch this, like, oh my God, this is so much better. It's what we did here now. So darker. Also, I appreciate, we mentioned Commissioner Gordon here, which we don't really do after this.
Yeah.
The fact that Gordon, we don't see it, but we mentioned my father, the first Commissioner Gordon. He knows
you're
about.
Gonna have to jog my memory on this, Dragon, but before the end of Batman the Animated Series proper, so like the last time that we, not Batman the Animated Series, but you know what I mean.
The new Batman Adventures.
Yeah. Do we have? Did Gordon ever actually know about Barbara? I don't think he did, right?
Well, it was heavily implied that, he suspects.
It's one of those things where kind of like Nolan's Gordon kind of like knows it's Bruce Wayne, but doesn't want to acknowledge it. That kind of deal.
Essentially, that's it. It's over the edge. It's basically, a little bit of a wink that, okay, Gordon, he's not an idiot. He at this point, it's really implied that, he knows that she's Batgirl, or at the very least that she's helping Batman, and that he knows.
Because, of course, my mind goes to the big episode, the big fake out episode where he's like hunting Batman down.
Well, that's how that episode ended. So that's how that episode ended. So that's him having that conversation with her. So essentially, he knows, or at the very least, it's the thing where all he needs is 10 minutes after actually pursuing the lead that he already knows. He knows what the lead is, but he chooses not to go after it.
Gotcha.
So, but he essentially. He knows, and at the very least, per the Bat family, he agreed to keep their secret. The secret being less the identity, more the fact that Joker's body is buried under Arkham Asylum. That's what they did. They buried his body under. Leslie Tompkins gets shouted out too. She took her like a year to rehabilitate Tim to get him back to normal, and then we check in with Tim, Dean Stockwell, the voicing.
I will say that was a pretty decent twist on my end, where I wasn't expecting to see a normal Tim Drake in this movie at all. So that was interesting to see.
I like how he built it up, because we see this random guy who's just watching TV. He's really spooked by seeing the Joker again, and then he's visiting Barbara Gordon. So
I will say that when he showed up in Barbara's office, I pretty much figured it was Tim Drake, but still was was cool to see. All right.
Anyway,
I feel like we could kind of, I don't want to like rush through the rest of the movie, but I feel like that flashback is kind of the heart of it, and we're kind of pushing 2 hours here. So.
Well, it is, but we got to get to like the climax of the third act.
Of course,
that's the main thing. That's really the only thing that's left. So, long story short, we have Tim Drake. We kind of solve the mystery there ultimately, where he's a telecommunications guy. Initially, we think he's in league with the Joker, but in reality, actually is the Joker. So the big satellite plot. How do you feel about the big satellite plot of the movie?
I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely my least favorite element of the movie, honestly.
You want to hear something funny?
Huh?
Okay, something funny about the satellite. Originally, the before they settled like the Akira beam, which, by the way, the guy.
That's the thing, is that it is just kind of like just a big beam of light in the sky, Dragon. It certainly is that.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I'm not really crazy about it.
It's a lot. It's not like a big portal, though. Look, yes, it's a beam, but it's a destructive beam raining down from space, though, which they did get a lot of mileage out of in Justice League when they did it down the line.
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like in a Justice League story, it just fits better, right? I just don't think something that high stakes, especially because the rest of the story, even though the return of the Joker is high stakes for Gotham as a whole, it's very personal stakes for our characters. And so it's like the one element of the movie that doesn't really jive with the rest of it for me.
Admittedly, in the writer's room, they did note that, yeah, when they were doing the movie, they're having such a great time with everything else. The plot was kind of like the last thing in the room in terms of what is the big Joker plot specifically. And originally,
I feel like I'm glad that we're hitting on this, honestly, because I feel like it is important to acknowledge that the actual, like, this movie is literally called Return of the Joker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when the Joker returns, the actual thing that he's doing, not really that interesting.
I mean, the problem is there's not really a huge. It's destructive. It looks kind of cool, but it's not really jokery. But that's kind of what we have.
It's not a jokery thing at all. Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, the jokery thing is that he's carving a smile into the city. That's the most jokery thing about it. But still, it's it's funny though. Originally, when they're struggling for ideas before they land on the beam, it was going to be a building a satellite in the shape of a giant pie.
Oh man!
And he was going to crash it into Gotham.
Okay, I mean, I think the beam is somewhat more grounded.
I mean, they realized it was dumb in the room, but that's the thing. It was still like, we need like a jokery kind of thing. It might have been like ridiculous enough to get a laugh for the Jokerz. So it was kind of idea. But yeah, the point being, the fun thing about the beam though is actually the chase sequence is very mild after the sequence from Akira. Now, fun fact, the guy who animated that sequence from Akira animated here 15 years later, Mr. Ayama.
I'm really surprised, honestly.
Which is awesome. Okay, so we have the showdown at the Jolly Jack Candy Factory.
Hollywood should make a remake of Akira, but instead of cool action and visuals, it's just the characters standing around explaining shit. Right? That's totally what I want to see.
Right.
All right. Anyways, I'm sorry.
All right. So Ace, getting great stuff with Ace. How did you feel about the Looney Tunes gag, by the way?
You know how I feel about the Looney Tunes gag, Dragon?
It's good.
I feel like it reawoken some long forgotten about childhood trauma from that specific cartoon, my friend.
It did end in suicide.
My fucking God. Like, especially given today's climate about the subject, that is a morbid as fuck cartoon, dude.
Ace feels really sad about Bruce. And
no, I know. You know what else I kind of read into it too? I kind of read into the whole like it's also Bruce feeling guilty about Tim Drake causing the death. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of levels to that. No, but seriously, when I was a kid, man, that specific Looney Tune, it did fuck with me, man. It really did. I vividly remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but
Looney Tunes would be like that sometimes, man. It's like, it's kind of like the same thing as the ending of What's Opera, Doc,
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I love Ace taking out Wolf, because Wolf has been kind of like a big kind of bruiser on the Joker's kind of gang, and there's the fact that Ace is like Terry's secret weapon here, and just dear God, he takes out Wolf. It's awesome. Also, you're trying to give the Joker a run for his money too. All right, so we have the big transformation scene where again the Joker, again, as I said before, he stole the tech during the Royal Flush Gang episode. Justly retroactively, we kind of made it that way. So he had this little chip embedded in his skin that allowed him to basically. You're probably wondering the real plot hole I imagine people would be asking about is like, why couldn't he do this from the beginning? Why is he just returning now? But we do cover this in the movie. There is a line that says he's been working on that. He's been working on taking control all this time. So like by this time, by the third act of this movie, he can do it at will now. It's kind of like a Jekyll Hyde thing. He didn't have full control.
Sure, yeah.
He's using him as a timeshare. Hence basically, I just love that Dini essentially made it the Nutty Professor. That was like the twist.
Essentially, yeah.
Which is fun. Anyway, but yeah.
Okay, you know what the one part of it that kind of bothers me is?
What?
The face transformation. How does that work?
Well, I thought it was kind of cool though. Is the fact it's
No,
got like
it's cool, Dragon. Visually, it's a cool image, but I don't understand logically how it works.
well, here's the thing: less the face, more like the body. Because remember, Tim Drake's a little overweight in the future. My logic, mind you, he's wearing black, which is kind of slimming, but I always read it as the body is a little bit of a in the transformation, like it's shifting. Like it's, I think so. With that in mind, maybe the face shifts as well. It's Cadmus tech. I don't know. Maybe it. I don't know.
You know what? I will say I'm gonna chalk it up to a we don't care.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
absolutely a we don't
Yeah,
care.
it is a we don't care. It's just something I noticed. It's something I noticed. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. But again, it's like that great thing where you're thinking it's price all this time, and like, no, it's not price at all.
Sure.
Anyway, but also I like that it connects to the flashback. The flashback is, it's Tim Drake being Jokerized, and now we're doing it again in the future, only more literally. All right, so we have this fight scene, but it's not. I'm sure you appreciate this fight because I know how much you have fight aphasia here. We don't do that at all here. It's a
I very much appreciate this fight, Dragon. I really do.
We have a bit of some fisticuffs here, but then we pull the rug out from under it.
Yeah, and again, it's one of Will Friedle's finest hours, man, with the laughing, and I mean, he must have had so much fun recording this.
It's so crazy when you think that he's Ron Stoppable.
I know, right?
I love how cyclical this is.
I feel like I have to kind of like catch myself and remind myself of that like at least twice per episode.
This is kind of avenging the flashback narration that the Joker had to Batman. Like, I'd laugh if it weren't so pathetic. What the heck, I'll laugh anyway. So it's very much kind of getting revenge for Bruce for that line.
I just love the idea of just, it's not just roasting the Joker. It's basically like turning, turning the heckling into a weapon. And it's just like everything. It's not just the heckling though. It's just it's literally everything about his worldview. Terry is very much like turning on his head.
Absolutely, it's the fact that Joker's he hates the spot anyone else getting the laughs. It's always been his kryptonite. It's why he always throw Harley out and everything. He'd always hate it when she gets a laugh or being made a mockery of, like when people are laughing at him instead of at his antics or with his antics. So it's this great psychological showdown where he's getting in his head, and the real great ambiguous thing with the Joker here is like his last words to Bruce when he's listening in over the comm is like, Bruce, I just want to say I should be saluting you as a worthy adversary, but the truth is I really did hate your guts. Now I think that line never sounded right to me. I always like to think that's Tim Drake imagining how the Joker felt about Batman.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
And I think don't get me wrong. I know that's the thing. There's a bit of like an AI thing going on with this Cadmus tech, where a lot of it's approximating like the Joker's mind, but also a lot of it's like the damage that was done to Tim Drake's mind. Like Joker probably did some Winter Soldier stuff to him for all we know. We don't know. There's something in there. But yeah, so it's the question of like how much of it is like Tim Drake, just like the whole you're not Batman thing and all. But again, like just Joker having kind of a freak out right now. He's like throwing the grenades at him when he says, "You're not Batman." I thought the Joker always wanted to make Batman laugh. It's just this wonderful thing where Terry has the upper. He literally has the high ground. He's got the upper hand, and just that's how he beats the Joker. It's perfect. And then we see the Joker's completely flip out by flipping a table over him, and this is like the most intimidating Joker shot ever, and I love it. Pulls the mask off of Batman, strangles him with those big Frankenstein hands. This is like, oh, come on, McGinnis. Laugh, you miserable little punk. Laugh. I can't hear you. God, it's so creepy. It's like the POV shot and everything, and then just Terry defiantly like, ha ha. He uses the joy buzzer. So again, we stripped away all the other Joker things. We give him the bang flag gun. We give him the joy buzzer, and they both.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Anyway, so shocks the electrocutes the chip off of him, and everything blows up real good, as it is wont to do in Batman. So that's So that's just great. So Terry found a way again. Terry, in being his own Batman, because again, like Bruce said, like the power through it. Don't talk to him. He said, wait a minute, I like to talk too. And that's how Terry. So Terry did something Bruce would never do. Found a way to defeat him. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the hospital scene is actually the last scene we really should talk about. So the hospital scene is a beautifully understated, cathartic moment for everyone.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if this was the last time that we saw Bruce Wayne, it would be pretty satisfying.
I think so too. It's kind of the thing where, like, if you looked at the movie, which you could do, and again, there was a lot of question when we wanted to cover the movie, but again, we went chronologically, where again it is produced amongst two, and it takes place right after episode 3, season 3, episode 1. But it's just the fact that this does give Bruce some really nice closure, not counting the epilogue episode, which again we're not going to talk about now, but down the line we'll get to. But not counting that, if you did look at this as just closing the book on Batman Beyond, we do say everything we need to say. Where one, Bruce has this nice compliment to Terry, the whole you make Batman worthwhile. Don't let anyone ever tell you different. But Bruce reconnecting with the Bat family and just keeping it kind of like it's what we don't see. It's the fact that he enters that room, and again another contender for the Great Conroy potentially. Him saying hello, Tim. When he says hello, Tim, because again, that parallels the last time he had contact with this kid, at least as we, the audience, saw, was him saying Tim. It's like so sad and defeatedly. So him in a more optimistic kind of a way trying to patch things, an olive branch sort of way, saying, hello, Tim. Hi, old man. It gets you choked up, doesn't it?
It does, totally.
So it's just, that is a beautiful ending for Bruce Wayne. The whole line of like, yeah, I didn't expect to see her. It's where I should be. It's like Bruce kind of having this arc, and Terry kind of brought him to this place of like, I should mend the fences. I should be back.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Terry suits up, and that's essentially the movie. Any comments we should read out here? Now we've reached the end.
I'm sure there are. Let me check. I mean, again, I kind of don't want to like spend the next 20 minutes reading comments, but we'll see what we get. Okay. Wart Monarch says Batman Beyond shows Bruce is more willing to let people die or kill for the greater good. Does it really though?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But they're kind of responding to something there, so that wasn't the best comment to read out. Let's see. He says, remember, Bruce was willing to let Ian Peake die to protect Terry.
But there was no way to save Ian Peake. He was facing through all the floors.
Right.
Yeah, he brought that on himself. He killed the guy who invented the belt.
If Bruce does not want anyone to become Batman because it's both his responsibility and honestly Bruce feels it's a curse after being Batman caused Tim's fate.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but yeah, he did hang it up for good reason.
Sure. Let's see. Bruce is the only one worthy to be Batman, but Terry's still a great character.
Always down on that poor McGinnis boy, Code Geass.
I think at this point he's just messing with us.
Yeah.
Great live stream, guys. You always do it justice. Thanks, Lucas Green. I appreciate that. I feel like after 90 minutes, my energy kind of starts to go, so I apologize. Wart Monarch says Joker's defeat proved to Bruce that for all his years of training and discipline and abandoning his family, Terry successfully defeated the Joker because he has family.
There you go.
Speaking of family, Dragon, really quick. I'm a Maddie McGinnis fan.
Yeah,
we get approximately one Maddie McGinnis scene, and it's great.
Yeah. Big reason that scene's in there is just to remind the folks, yeah, he has a family, guys.
Right.
We don't have room for Max, but we do have time for the McGinnis clan.
I approve. Although I will say, I forget exactly who it was, but I will say that I do kind of wish she was at least in the background somewhere. It just kind of feels like Like with her not there, it kind of feels like a prequel to season 2 or something. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Okay, the only place we could have actually worked Max in without having to invent a new
It's like
sequence
basically. I feel like she could have been like the Chelsea role in this movie.
But that's the only place we could have put her in. But then would you have been happy? Like, man, Max doesn't do anything in this movie.
No, you're right. It's like
medics.
the Dick Grayson thing you were talking about earlier. Yeah. Is a conundrum. All right.
That it is.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, final thoughts on this. I do think that I don't know, man. I still can't really decide if it's Phantasm or this, but I think both of them are really great for different reasons. I'm kind of leaning this way, but I don't know. I mean, they're like I said, the animation in this in particular is what really was striking to me. That and just how well paced it all is, and how I pretty much remember everything about it, even from the one watch I had when I was a kid. So, yeah, this definitely lived up to my expectations. And Dragon, it's weird to think that we're 13 podcasts away from finishing this whole thing.
Well, a little more than 13, but yes.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know what that more than 13 is going to be, but I guess we'll find out.
Probably close to the 16, but we'll get there.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that.
I've explained it to you before. We'll do it again later.
Math is math.
Math is math.
All right. Okay, and let's see. And Dragon, I trust that you know this movie's quotes more than I do, so I'm going to leave it to you to do an exit tag. If you don't
also,
mind.
I had some final thoughts as well. But
Oh yeah, by all means. No, by all means. I'm just kind of queuing up when we do the outro. But yeah, by all means, final thoughts.
So again, I think Return of the Joker is similar to Phantasm. It's the blue meth of Batman Beyond, being it's like it's everything firing all cylinders, like given like the budget or time that you kind of want given to the material, where we're allowed to do things that maybe we've seen in the show, but we're allowed to really revel in them. So like we have the upgraded budget, which again is less budget, more of like going from cell to digital in a big grandiose way with a story that supports it. It's a big defining event and kind of challenge for our hero, but also it's like what do we say about the journey here, about Terry's journey, about Bruce Wayne's journey and getting to this point, like him reconciling with the Bat family. It's possibly the best Batman Beyond story that we had. I mean, possibly. I mean, there are a lot of great episodes of Batman Beyond, but it's like this is like a great, like, if we're gonna tell this one is the one that everyone remembers. I mean, the show is great. People remember the show in the concept period, but everyone's watched that movie. Like, even if they haven't watched the show, they've either watched the pilot and then this movie, or they've watched the movie. I guarantee you. It's just Paul Dini amazes in the writing. It's just, it's like if Phantasm is a classic, Return of the Joker is like the blockbuster that's never forgotten. It's like the blockbuster you see. It's the Jaws.
Yeah, for
Phantasm,
sure.
Citizen Kane, like Return of the Joker is like Jaws.
That's a good way to put it.
It's thoughtful, but also action packed. It's a huge reason that why Batman Beyond has endured, and I'd like to pull a Conroy quote that I think sums things up in a really wonderful way. I mean, both for him but also for everything here. It's like he had this line like, "It's not Batman who makes you who you are; it's the other way around." And I feel, honestly, I think that line out of context, being essentially his last line in the movie, I think that says a lot about what he did in the role. That's again, so you could make that tantamount to Conroy, where again it was Conroy who made Batman ultimately. And I think with everything else, it's like the people that kind of made Batman Beyond really work against all these great guys behind the scenes who had all these fun ideas and all these really great, like, how can we reinvent the character and kind of do kind of a fun thing that's in service of all this and like a logical continuation. And this is like the ultimate like celebration of that in a feature format. So it's something special. It's something to be cherished.
All right, for sure. Big thanks to Kogias, Lucas Green, Warp Monarch, Little Blue, Richard's Victims. I'm pretty sure that's everyone. Appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are all awesome. Okay, Dragon, take us out. What awaits us in season 3, my friend?
The Royal Flush Gang not playing with a full deck. Paxton Powers kidnapped? Bruce Wayne in peril? Can Batman navigate the fall of a house of cards? Or will it all come crumbling down on his head? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to Batcave Beyond with King's Ransom.
If you don't like the movie, I've got slides.